I've saved my progress as 3LinkedFrames.ai found inside the O8 type folder. So called because we do indeed have 3 rectangular frames that are linked together into which we've poured some text. Now, so far, you may have noticed that I've been calling these objects text frames and text blocks, and you may have wondered what in the world is the difference, if any. Well, there is a difference. The text frame is, in our case, these rectangles that define the boundary of the text. So the frames house the text. Whereas the text block, I'll go ahead and click off of the text and then click on any one of these tiny lines inside the poem. The text block is the combination of the frame and the text together. Now, the reason I make this distinction is because Illustrator calls this kind of text area text. That is, it's text that exists inside of an area, the area being the frame. Now, the frame does not have to be rectangular. That's what it is by default if you just place the text without having anything selected. However, you can place text into any object that you can draw inside of Illustrator. So text is essentially another fill pattern where area text is concerned. Compare that to the simpler form of text inside of Illustrator, which is known as point text. And I'm going to show you how that works inside of this exercise. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, preferably on that first page right there. And notice the first 2 lines of text, poem written, project placed. That's the title of my poem. And a limerick by your host and author is the byline. So I want to select those 2 lines of type, and I'm going to do so like this. And this gives me an opportunity to show you how to select text inside of Illustrator. If you double click inside of the text like so, you will automatically switch from your arrow tool, in my case the black arrow tool, to the type tool, and you will position that blinking insertion marker right there. Some people call it the insertion point. I call it the marker because we have enough different kinds of points inside of Illustrator. It gets very confusing if everything's a point. All right, so that's one way to select the type tool. Another way is just to select it. So if I had the black arrow tool active like so, I could switch to the type tool just by pressing the T key. Now you have a few varieties of type tool available to you. You've got the area type tool, the type on a path tool, both of which allow you to create different kinds of type, right? You can create area type or you can create type on a path. You also have the vertical variations of those tools, specifically designed for the Asian market. However, here's the thing, regardless of who you are, the default type tool is all you need. You don't need 6 type tools to choose from because you can create any kind of type object using this one type tool. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select these first 2 lines of type. And I could do that by dragging across them like so. Or I could drag down. Notice this. If I drag down and I kept my cursor all the way over on the left side of the text block, then I will just select those 2 lines of text and nothing more. I won't select into the 3rd line. You can click at a point and shift click at another point in order to select all the text between those 2 points. You can double click on a word to select the entire word. You can triple click on a line to select the entire line. And you can also press Control-A or Command-A on a Mac to select all of the text inside of the entire text document right here. So this will select the text across the various linked frames. All right, what we want is just the first 2 lines of type. So here's a special trick that you might want to take advantage of. Let's say you want to select 2 words. Why, then you would double click on the first word, and on that second click, you would drag like so. And now you can select multiple words at a time, multiple whole words, that is to say. It's a little confusing, so I'm going to do it again. And when I say it's a little confusing, I mean I get confused by it as well. You technically do a double click, but on the second click you hold. So it's a click hold like so. And then while you still have that mouse button down, you drag. And that's going to select entire words. What if you want to select entire lines? Well, you do a triple click hold drag. So that is click, click, hold. And notice you're not getting the right feedback. I should see an entire selected line this time. I don't. But I did a click, click, hold. And now as I drag down, I select entire lines of type, as you can see. And I'll drag back up, and I select just those first 2 lines. So that is, once again, a click, click, hold. Keep that mouse button down. Move the cursor down. You get that second line of type. Awesome. Now, however you decide to do it, once you've selected those entire first 2 lines of type, go up to the Edit menu and choose the Cut command or press Control-X, Command-X on the Mac, and that will take those 2 lines out of there. Now, I'll click on the black arrow tool, And I'm going to scroll up to the top portion of my page like so. And now I'm going to go ahead and paste that text that's in the clipboard to an entirely new text block. And I'm going to do that by going up to the edit menu and choosing the paste command, where I'll press Control V, Command V on a Mac. And notice that we now have text that appears to be inside of a brand new text block, but this is not a standard block. Notice if I were to drag one of these corner handles, because I still have the bounding box turned on, I stretch my text. This is totally different. So I'm not changing the size of the frame because there is no frame this time. This is a text block that has no frame associated with it whatsoever, because this is point text. And you do not want to drag the bounding box handles when you're working with point text, because you'll stretch your type as you see here. So press Control Z or Command Z on a Mac to undo that modification. Then go up to the View menu and choose Hide Bounding Box. Control Shift B or Command Shift B on a Mac. And you might want to just assign that keyboard shortcut to memory, because here's the thing. When you're working with area text, that is text inside of a frame, then you want the bounding box. When you're working with anything else inside of Illustrator, you want that bounding box turned off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off right now. You can see that we have 2 lines of point text, and the reason you know it's point text is because there's no frame surrounding the text now that we got rid of the bounding box, and we have an anchor point right at the beginning of the first baseline, the baseline being those horizontal lines upon which the characters rest. And I'm going to show you how to work with point text beginning in the next exercise.